Hey guys, welcome to the Lowdown Show. And in this video, I have another guest. I guess you guys might know, you might not know on the channel. It's called Four Lights. Four Lights. Now, what is that? It's a Star Trek podcast, actually. And I have Tim Spulak with me. Hey, welcome to my show.
It's a pleasure to be here. I am very, very honored. Uh, it's Four Lights was something that Steve started. If you don't know Steve, he's very popular with the Going in Raw podcast,
Yes.
and him and his buddy Jeff just they grew up together, they did college together, and everything, and they just wanted to talk Trek, and that's where it started.
Oh, nice.
And life happens. You and me both know that families and everything else happened. And so in between him getting together with Jeff and doing the reviews of the next generation, he reached out to me because he knew I was a Trek fan, and we started doing the review for Picard, and we'll
Yes.
continue into Picard season 2. Right now it's a little hard to get time nailed down. And some people may ask, why haven't you started doing Discovery?
Mm.
And the reason why is behind the scenes. I'll give you a little peek behind the curtain. Jeff, I believe, is going to go through with one of his buddies and do the review. So we don't want to step on any toes and give him the opportunity. So Steve's like, well, Jeff didn't say anything about Picard. Why don't you hop in, Tim? And I'm more than happy to help. So if you don't hear anything about Discovery, it's not that we're not watching. Trek's been great as of late. We've had
Yes.
a drought for a long time. So there is more stuff coming. I kind of want to get together and do a Lower Decks review. If
Oh,
that
yeah.
doesn't happen, I think I know a new guy that can help me out here. I think it's
Oh,
this way. So we'll see what we can do. I don't want to, like I said, I want to make sure everybody's open to be able to, do everything. But yeah, that's kind of what I do. I'm just a nerd that talks about Trek in his spare time and watch a little
nice.
bit of wrestling. And
Oh, yes.
yeah.
Yeah. And real quick, my story of how I found you guys. So
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
it was Steven Larson. They have a Golden Raw podcast for wrestling, and I'm a wrestling fan and stuff. But I really like watching like the behind the scenes and stuff. And so Steven Larson, they review the show, so I can got to watch 3 hours of Raw.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
yeah, so I love their podcast. And actually, I don't know how. I think I remember the first time I seen them was like I think it was like Goldberg beat Brock Lesnar in like 15 seconds. It was like a shocker to everybody. And I was
Hmm.
like, what's going on here? I'm looking at all these people's reactions, and Golden and Raw was one of them. So I'm like, oh, who are these guys? And after that, I was hooked, and I watched it, and I watched them, and and they definitely, are very entertaining in the wrestling, podcast. And and he started to mention Trek a little bit, so I'm like, does he know a little bit about Trek? And then when Picard came around, he mentioned that he had another podcast called Brendoville, and I was like, okay, and I checked that out. And then he had a podcast. I mean, he had a video of breaking down the first Picard trailer. I'm like, oh, this guy, he's a Trekkie. Yeah, I didn't know all this right now, and I was like, oh, and he's breaking it down, and he's like, yeah, we're gonna do a series soon once it starts. I'm like, oh wow, I'd love to see his input. And then you came along, like you said, and I watched every single one ever since. I'm like, yeah, this guy's a Trekkie, and I watched it old stuff too, like the next generation. Like you guys don't have all the episodes, but you got most of them, and I enjoy that too. And that's
Well,
kind of how I found
we
you guys.
appreciate that. Like I said, it's good to hear. I mean, Steven Larson, they have a big community for wrestling. And then, I mean, everybody kind of has their niche. And it's kind
Mm.
of interesting when the stars align to where
Yeah.
you like 2 or 3 things together. And Steve is also a big Batman fan, and I'm a
Oh,
huge Batman fan.
okay.
So there's some stuff I would really like to get together and do the new Pattinson Batman movie. But
Nice.
I would love to do that with him, but I would almost have to be there with him or schedule it. But he has his, like I said, Steve has his own movie crew that he goes with, and I'm very, very jealous that I don't live in California. I live in
Yeah.
Nebraska. But so yeah, there's a couple of things we have in common, and we just like the stars kind of aligned for us to do the Picard review. And so I'm going to ask you a question. So this is
Sure.
technically for people that have not known this. We talked for 2 minutes before this
Yes.
started.
Yes.
So we're first time meeting each other.
Yep.
So what got you into Star Trek? What was your first experience into it?
Yes. Definitely the TNG era. So I was born in 1979, and
Okay.
I'm from Laos, but I was born in Thailand, and we
Okay.
came here to Arizona in 1980. as refugees. And
Wow.
yeah. So and came right to Arizona, lived here my whole life. And yeah, when the TNG, because I wasn't too big of the original series. To me, I was a little younger then. And I saw it, but it probably syndicated television, and it was kind of like, oh, this is pretty cool. I like it, but it seemed pretty old. But then when the TNG came out, in the '90s and '80s, yeah, me and my brother watched it. Just watched it. I don't know. I just gravitated towards every episode, and that was part of my childhood. And it just went away, obviously, and then Picard came back. But no, I was just interested in it. I like that kind of stuff, science, Star Wars, anything. I don't know. I don't know. I really loved it. It was a big part of my childhood, and it was funny. Even I thought I was the only one that watched it, and it was kind of funny when I got to my teen years, 15 years old, 17, getting a little older. I found a crew that they watched Star Trek, but they were kind of like we were in the band together though, so we actually played punk rock music. Kind of weird,
Okay.
but they like Star Trek. I'm like, you like Star Trek too? I didn't want to spill the beans, and they're like, oh, we
Yeah.
love it, and they love wrestling, and it was kind of crazy. So
Ah,
we're like, let's have a Star Trek wrestling night, and we did, and we would play like a video
that's
game called
awesome.
like NWO versus WCW on like 64, and we would
Yep.
make our character Star Trek. We would make like Worf and the
That
Borg,
is
like
awesome.
number one versus the Borg, and yeah, we were nerding out. So
That
yeah,
is amazing.
Star Trek's just been a big part of me, and like I said, I haven't really found too many people, and then when I do, I gravitate towards them, and then and now we have the internet and you know stuff going on now, and I think I feel let me just reach out to people. I want to nerd out more and meet new friends, like right
That
now.
that is yeah. And I will say this too: the Going in Rock community, for those who don't know that aren't friendos, it's always a very, very welcoming community.
Yeah.
So when my love for wrestling and for Star Trek in general came from my stepfather.
Okay.
He passed away about 4 or 5 years ago now,
Mm.
and uh, he loved Star Trek. And I don't know what, I never appreciated it as much when he was alive, and now that I do, I really wish he was around for Picard. But I never asked him what drew him towards it, because I was young and didn't know to ask these questions.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we found I remember something, it was like an anniversary gift or something, but they were essentially bootleg versions of the original series on VHS tape. It was 2 episodes per tape, and it filled the whole entire top drawer of like a closet or something. And I started watching it when I was, late teens.
Okay.
And so my first, and I kind of had seen an episode of TNG, and it was kind of that. But so my first experience to the next, or to the original series, though, was watching, these 2 episodes on a VHS tape, and then
Yeah.
we put in another one. And then wrestling was also something that I connected with my stepfather with. It was Monday Night Raw,
Yes. Okay.
and then whenever the pay-per-views came on. How did you watch pay-per-views growing up, or did you, wrestling
Yeah.
wise?
We had the box kind of like that box, kind of the box. It was kind of, I guess, illegal. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
yeah, you
my
could
parents got
stream it. Yeah, like
yeah, the box.
bootlegging it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But I also go to my friend's house, the one that I talked about earlier, and yeah, we
hmm
pay a couple bucks, whatever, and we watch it like that too.
So my first wrestling pay-per-view, I was a WCW kid,
Okay.
and my first wrestling pay-per-view was Starrcade '97 when
Oh wow.
Sting beat Hogan for the WCW
Oh
title.
wow.
And then once we got a little bit older, and then WCW got bought out by WWF,
Yes.
and we ended up moving to a different town. And there was a bowling alley that had a little bar attached to it. So Sunday nights during the pay-per-view, they would air the pay-per-view because they knew it would draw people in, and they would get drinks and order food and stuff like that. So I never had to pay for a pay-per-view in high school. I went to a local
Nice.
bowling alley and watched it with a huge group of friends. I mean, the first time I went, I'm like, who's going to see me here? And I flipped up the hoodie and I'm looking around. And then like tons of people that I was pretty cool with, and then their family were all there watching the pay-per-views. And somebody gets a pin or somebody wins a belt, and high five for everybody. So it was a really, really cool experience, you know growing up kind of with wrestling and everything else. And then I kind of got out of it. And then when my stepdad started getting more and more sick, we
Mhm.
started getting a little bit more nostalgic, so we would get together and watch stuff.
Okay.
By that time, I had been married. My wife is really big into Trek, so I had seen
Oh nice.
I've seen virtually everything that's Trek except for like the 70s cartoon.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen almost everything though, because
Wow.
because of Netflix and things like that. So whether it's Enterprise or TNG or
Oh, wow.
DS9 or Voyager, I've seen virtually everything. And then uh, I started getting nostalgic with my dad, and we would watch reruns on TV. And then one day back in 2015, 2014, something like that, the Rumble came up, and then they had the advertisement for the WWE Network. So I'm like, I'll give it a
Oh,
shot.
yeah.
And so me and my dad or stepdad got together. We watched the Rumble. We had a good time. And then I'm like, man, I want to talk wrestling with somebody besides my dad. And I didn't have any friends because I'm a married adult. I'm not supposed to be watching wrestling anymore. Supposed to be a
Yeah, I'm
responsible
guilty.
human being.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
guilty.
And so I started searching. I'm like, well, what if I can't watch Raw on a daily basis? How can I get reviews? And so I Googled, wrestling reviews, and I saw a couple of middle-aged guys were reviewing wrestling, and that's how I found Steven Larson.
Oh, wow.
And then through the years of watching them and everything else like that, 2 years ago, I got to meet Steven Larson at StarCast 1 in
Oh, nice.
Chicago. And then after I met him, I became a moderator for the channel. And then I got to meet Steve. And then that kind of bled into the Four Lights podcast. And the rest is kind of history for that stuff. So that's a little bit of my
No, that's
backstory of
great.
not only of wrestling and stuff we like, but, Star Trek. I grew up on Star Wars from my mom.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a big Star Wars fan.
You talked about bootleg. We actually had recorded VHS tapes versions of the original 4, 5, and 6 on
Oh, nice.
VHS. And then when the Star Wars movies came out in 1997,
Mm-hmm.
we saw all the re-releases in theaters. And we were poor. We lived in a trailer. We didn't have hardly any money. I mean, but Mom was such a big Star Wars fan that we saw the
Nice.
97 re-releases in theaters.
Nice.
And then we bought them all on VHS tapes. So science fiction is, I would say, down in my DNA, but yeah.
Wow, that's a great story. That's a great
Thank
story.
you.
Yeah, yeah. Glad to hear it. Now, hey, let's switch gears to what's going on now. So, you guys watch Lower Decks, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So,
Yep.
you can give me a little review. I reviewed it on my channel too. Like, you liked it
Okay.
overall, or what?
Yeah.
It looked bad, or it started off okay, or how did it go
Yeah.
for you?
So it's an interesting series. The adult animation series has really become very popular as of late. Fox has been, the Fox Corporation, before they got bought out by Disney,
Yes.
really pushed the adult animation line. Them and Cartoon Network did a good job of continuing it, even when Fox was trying to. They canceled Futurama, and they've canceled this and that, which I love Futurama, by the way, too. Anything
Oh, yeah.
science fiction, I'm totally into. But so then you start having, these other series that come out like Rick and Morty and things like that on Adult Swim. And so you kind of had this saturation in the field. And then when Paramount decided to actually do something with the Trek franchise after the J.J. Abrams series, and they said,
Yeah.
okay, we're going to do Picard, we're going to do Discovery, we're going to do this and that. I'm like, Lower Decks popped up, and it was kind of like, that's interesting. And that's where I think it stays, is the interesting field, because the adult animation field, you're balancing two different things. How do you keep it interesting for, make those, not say adult jokes, but make those really, really nerdy, Trekkie jokes, but still make it available for the public consumption, as opposed to you and me, who are going to get most of the references.
Yes.
Like the one episode where Q's popping up and harassing. Oh,
Yeah.
so funny. It's so funny. But it's because it's those deep cuts, those deep references that not everybody's going to get. So we have a little group. In fact, it's a closed group. Might have to invite you. I don't want to put my foot in my mouth because I got to get approved from everybody else.
Okay.
But the group is called Beam Me Up Friendo, is the name of the group. And we talk about the episodes every single time they come out, just in Twitter DMs and just communicating back and forth. And about half the episodes were good. They were there was a story worth telling, or there was something interesting going on, or it filled in a little bit of a backstory about something else that was happening in the universe, or Q harassing somebody else in the universe. It was funny.
Yeah.
But again, when you have a series that's 10 episodes and only about half of them are acceptable and good, it's a little hard. I'm not saying it's bad. The series is not bad by any stretch of the imagination. but you want to make sure you want to watch it next week. You want to catch it next
Yes.
week. And I'm not saying telling a continuing story, because the stories are loosely intertwined, but not really.
Yeah. Yeah.
There was a couple episodes where I'm like, if I didn't catch next week, I could wait a little bit. It didn't leave me wanting more sometimes. So after seeing that season finale, though,
Yeah.
it landed on its feet. The episodes that were good were great, and it made sense to have the series. I just hope, like Rick and Morty, they take 2 years to write a season, it seems like, because they want to make most of the episodes worthwhile. And I think if they do that, if they have a little bit more time, a little bit more writing, and they make every episode land and be impactful, they have thumbs up all the way. But give it time, give it good writing, and they're good. Because there's not a character that I don't like. I mean, you have kind of the stereotypes, the newbie, and then you have somebody that has the tech, and then you have the straight-laced person, and then you have the rogue.
Yes.
And they play their characters very, very well. They also have to be involved in interesting things. And sometimes, like I said, some jokes land, some jokes don't.
Yes.
I don't want to be overly critical, because my brain is very, very overly critical at times. I mean, I can bash any movie really, really bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would probably give it 6.5 out of 10 if I were. It sounds a little low.
No, that's fair.
The episodes that are good are really good, but the episodes that are bad are really boring.
Yes. Yes. No, I agree. It's 50-50 for me. I mean, I did a whole review on them all. There were some that really I was nerding out on, and there were some like, okay, do we need this? And the four crew, 4 characters were good, but they kept being with each other too much. And then when they kind of split up and kind of went on different ways, then I started to get more interested again.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, the final finale was, I mean, spoilers, but I'm sure a lot of people have seen it. Man, with the Titan and Riker, and I was like,
yeah.
Okay.
The deeper the references, the better it is. By the way, I noticed you followed Four Lights on Twitter, and I appreciate that. I'm the guy that kind of deals with the Four Lights social media, and I'm not the most, but I tagged something. Comicbook.com had the announcement that they're doing a Riker. It's a Riker and Troy book, right?
Yes, it's a book, and
they're on the Titan and everything. I'm so excited for that. I'm not a big reader. I will admit. I'm not the biggest reader, but I do a lot of audiobooks, and that's one I will totally get on audiobooks.
Yeah, I do that too. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. I want to get all the Shrek I can get. I follow you guys, and whatever else. I'll definitely, hopefully, keep me updated. But yeah, that's great. That's great. I mean, so let's talk a little bit of Discovery. So have you seen 2 episodes already?
Yep. I'm totally into Discovery. Are you surprised as I am?
A little bit. I liked it, but yeah, I want to see more.
I do too. My one concern. So are we going to say spoilers from season 2, right?
Yeah, spoilers fine. Yeah.
Spoiler alert for season 2. I have one concern.
Okay.
And I think a lot of people might agree with me. It's kind of a 50-50 split, because whenever you're dealing with time travel, you have to be careful of making sure that the time travel is meaningful. And so when they jump to the future, my concern is that when they jump, and if they go back and try to prevent, I'm not going to say what happened, but the calamity, the big thing that happens, if they make it not happen, then that means they erase that whole entire future, which means that season, it's a story with telling, but then you erase that much history. So it's almost like it doesn't matter.
That's true.
So I'm concerned that they're going to try to go back and rectify it. In stories like First Contact, it's such a good story with Devon Cochran and the TNG. And how they happen to mesh in with the time. My concern is that they're going to go back and, there's a new interesting character. I can't think of his name, but another African-American actor and he's great. He's a great
Oh
character.
yeah. Book.
Uh,
The guy who played Book.
yes,
Yeah,
Book. That's
Book.
it. Yeah, sorry. I keep on wanting to call him Booker, but Booker's from Bioshock Infinite. So anyway, Book. Um, Book is a really, really good character, but my concern is that you do the trope of, oh, we can go back and change things, but if you go back and change things, then time will be different, and Book will have to sacrifice himself to correct and make
Wow.
sure Starfleet's relevant. And I'm probably just reading too much into it. I don't enjoy the ride as I do the overall story arc.
Yes.
But again, finding science fiction that's, because this is the furthest in Trek timeline we've ever been to, correct?
Yeah, 900 plus. Yeah.
Yeah, because you hear people from they have the anti time travel
Yeah,
crew,
I was gonna
and
bring that up. Yeah, they outlawed it.
they outlawed it, and then you have the time travelers from Starfleet that are from, I don't know, the 2600s or something. I don't remember
Yeah.
where they are in the timeline, but they tried to prevent it, and so we're so far past that they're in a final frontier. They're in a new country, a new field, unexplored territory, which is great, which is what we need for
Yeah, I
Trek.
like that.
Oh, and it does a really, really good job of it. Discovery season 3. I think how to word this. Sorry, I have to think about. I want to choose my words wisely.
Okay, that's okay.
Discovery has done such a good job of making each season feel different,
Yes.
and you have season 1, which it's still trying to find its grounds, and why does it not feel, because this, Discovery takes place before Kirk, so
Yes.
why does this new tech not quite flow with everything else? And then season 2 comes in, and you're like, oh, we're gonna get young Spock and Pike,
Yeah.
and that just blows my mind. Pike, by the way, if they don't do a Pike
Oh,
series,
I like him.
I know they announced, but if they didn't do it, I would have been so upset, because it's
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah. No. You hit it right there because a little bit background of how I found out Discovery. So I got
Mhm.
back into Picard with you guys, and I heard a show called Discovery, and I'm like, oh yeah, I think I heard of that, and I tried it out, and I tried it again. This is Discovery season 1, and I didn't like it. I was bored by the first 2 episodes. I'm like, I don't
Mhm.
know, man, what is all this? And my friend that encouraged me kind of online with her. He's like, well, that happens to everyone. Why don't you watch, some more? And I couldn't do it. Then I go, well, let me see the trailer for season 2. And I was hooked. And I watched season 2 first, and then I went back. You know what I'm
Oh,
saying? That's how I got hooked. If
are
that
you
didn't happen,
kidding me?
if that didn't happen, but I'd be like, nah, Discovery's not for me.
Oh, you blew my mind right there. That's crazy. So again, like I said, my passion for Trek comes from not only my stepdad, who got me into it, and I thank him every day for getting me into that, and my wife being super nerdy, and I love her to death. And so it's a part nerd, science fiction, and that nerdiness is a part of me. And as soon as new Trek was coming, I was hooked. I don't want to give you a sob story, but I'm going to tell you
Oh yeah.
part of the reason why Trek, and not a lot of people know this. So my stepdad died of he had lupus, and it's an autoimmune disease that attacks the organs of the body, and he ended up passing away of a common cold. The reason why, he was doing chemotherapy to help get rid of some of the swelling in his joints and everything else. So the immune system was so low that a common cold took him out. But when he was doing the chemotherapy, was the same summer that Star Trek Beyond came out.
Yes.
Not saying it's a great movie, but I begged and I pleaded, and I'm like, Dad, I want to take you to go. I want to go to Omaha, because I live 5 hours away from Omaha. So I live out in the
Okay.
middle of nowhere, Nebraska. I'm like, I will drive 5 hours for a weekend just to take you to a theater, to take you to go see this movie. And with my stepdad, that's the one regret I have, is I never got to take him, because he never saw that movie. Whether it's for the better or not, I don't think he would have liked it. But so Trek, I always have that itch of wanting more, wanting better. And that's kind of where it comes from. And so after Star Trek Beyond came out, and then Picard, and I'm like, oh God, my reference is, would my dad like this or not? And
Yes.
that's
Yes.
that's going to be a part of me. It's going to be in the back of my mind. And I'm sure he would have loved Picard, because Picard hit you in that nostalgia gut punch
Yes, it
sort of a
does.
thing. Same thing with I think Discovery season 2. You get a young, you hear these stories of Pike and Spock, and then you finally see them, and the casting for Pike is
Oh yeah.
so good.
Yes.
I mean, even in Into Darkness, even in J.J.
Oh
Abrams' second
yeah.
movie,
I like that one.
yeah, I like Cumberbatch, but
Benedict
him as
Cumberbatch. Yeah.
Khan,
Yeah.
it's okay.
Okay.
But again, getting Pike is such a good character. Now that they've you know developed him a little bit more, and both actors, technically, there's been 3 or 4 actors that have played him now. But the
Okay.
2 newer iterations we've seen have been so good, and he's such an interesting character. Um, I I'm excited to hear that they've announced it. I'm excited he was in Discovery season 2. I'm glad that was your first experience with Discovery,
Okay.
was
Yeah. Oh
kind of
yeah.
with that, because you're right. Season 1 of Discovery, it was
You guys
okay.
gotta rough it. Yeah.
It was pretty rough. Just like just like the first season of Lower Decks, a little rough. It does okay, but you know, but with Discovery being what it is now, you have your characters, you have Burnham, you have everybody established. You're in a new timeline, so virtually everything's off the table um, when it comes to where they want to go.
Mm.
Again, my only concern is that this new timeline they've established, they might erase it, and I don't like that necessarily in my
Oh.
science
Yeah.
fiction. But
Yeah.
what's your thoughts?
I don't know. Yeah. I mean, they need to know what the burn is about. They need to know, are they gonna stay in this timeline, or do they want to go back, or is this a new fresh start, and we're just gonna continue it? Because I think maybe control might come back. You know, they may have thought, okay, we got rid of control, we're in the future now, but I think control might creep back up, maybe. And that may allow them to stay there and say, all right, we gotta continue to deal with the situation. Um, yeah, I mean, I like it because season 3 is a whole new ball field. So I don't know, Klingons are gonna be there anymore. I don't know. I haven't seen the Vulcans yet. I really don't know.
Yeah, everything. We actually saw some characters that were more traditional in DS9. Can't think
Yeah.
of their names. The kind of the more potato. I think of Doctor Who. I'm sorry because I'm really nerdy when it comes to my science fiction, but the more
Oh, those kids.
potato-looking guys.
Not the
More?
Kardashians, right? No.
No. More. What's it?
Uh.
Mort? Who's the guy that always sits at Quark's bar? The quiet
Oh.
guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't think of his
I
name.
can't think of it
And
either.
his characters or his race was used in some of the episodes. Like I remember faces, not names, very well. But yeah, they have a lot to discover, and I'm glad that they jumped that far ahead because it makes it interesting.
Yes.
Because the other thing too, anybody who watches Star Trek in general knows that, like, you have tricorders, or you have communicators, and then you have sliding doors and stuff, and that stuff, science fiction will eventually become science reality.
Yes.
And we've come to a point to where, or even like you look at TNG, they have the screens that they're touching and stuff like that. That's become real. We have tablets and stuff. So I'm glad they took a jump forward to where they're using matter that is, instead of replicators, they have matter that can be programmed.
Program. Yes.
Or when they have the flight controls is all about moving your hands and doing this and that,
Yes.
as opposed to touching something tangible. You always want to be looking forward, because they also say if you take a piece of technology back 100 years, people are going to think of it as magic or witchcraft. You say that 20 years. I mean, you go back 20
Oh yeah.
years, and if I brought a smartphone into my high
Yes.
school 20 years ago, it would floor people.
Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah.
So I'm glad they were able to make a jump. I'm glad they were able to make a jump to where they make science fiction be fiction, where now it kind of seems a little dated. You know what I mean?
Yes. No. Definitely. Definitely. And I hope we spend more time with the crew. And I know Michael Burnham. She's pretty cool, but it seems really Michael Burnham centric, which is cool too. But I do want to spend more time with the crew as well, like the whole entire crew. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to expect. But so far, so good, I guess. For
Yeah,
now, it's only been 2 episodes, but
it's got me hooked. I mean, I'm wanting to watch every single episode, every single week. I like to watch it. I have some friends that have the opportunity to watch it almost as soon as it comes out because they're
oh
either
wow,
up really, really early in the morning. So
yes,
like Thursday morning, I wake up and there's a DM in my group saying, "Oh, hey, I thought of it like this." I'm like,
yeah. Oh,
okay, I'll get to
spoilers.
watch it this weekend sometime.
Yeah,
And
spoilers. No, no.
we don't do spoilers in our group too. That's
Oh,
the big
good.
thing.
Yeah,
We're like, oh yeah, I felt good, or I didn't like this.
yeah. Oh, that's good.
Uh, was it the first episode? Yeah, the first episode when I with some of the aliens and stuff, it felt a little bit too much like Men in Black for my taste, and
Oh,
that's all I said. Yeah, and that's fine. Like I said, I want my Trek to sometimes feel like Trek, and they're trying to do a fresh, modern take. And because I'll be completely honest, I don't know about you, but CBS All Access, the streaming service that it's on,
yeah.
the only reason why I have CBS All Access is for Trek. I
Yes.
don't have it for any other reason.
Yeah, me too.
So I paid that $9 a month just to get my Trek fix and go back and watch other stuff. But it's a price to pay because all these other little streaming services add up. Whether you watch Netflix, and I know everybody has Netflix, or you watch it from somebody else.
Yes.
But if you don't and you watch the same content, and let's say you're up to date on everything, do you have Netflix for The Witcher? Do you have Netflix for Stranger Things?
I know.
HBO, you mentioned HBO.
Yeah.
I need to get HBO. I don't have, I used to have it. I don't anymore, but now they have their streaming service. And by the time you add up all these streaming services, it's enough for a cable bill. So where do you,
I know. Yeah.
what a
Yeah.
world we live in.
That's what I'm saying. I know. I know. I mean, but no, but I mean, I try to think of the positive. Now I'm getting to meet people like you guys, and I'm interacting more. I don't feel alone.
Oh,
And
and you never have to. That's the other cool thing too about different communities and in the world we live in today. If there is something you like or a niche you want to find out, just do a little bit of research on your own, and you can find either a Facebook group or a Twitter group. Most people, if it's a kind of a bigger podcast type of a thing, they may not reach out to you. But
yeah,
if you
yeah.
find a smaller group or a community you're already in, let's say you're part of a, I'm trying to think of any other community. Like, let's say you have a fantasy football, or
Okay.
let's say you have any other group. Don't be afraid to mention it, saying, "Hey, I kind of like this," because I'm sorry, but nerds and geeks, we're the norm now.
I know.
You mentioned Star Wars, and everybody's like, "Oh yeah," or I loved watching the Clone Wars when I grew
Oh,
up.
I loved it. Yeah.
That to me, that's a child. If somebody's like, I watched the Clone Wars growing up, I'm like, you're a kid. But that's just me being old.
Yeah, no, that was cool.
But, and I will say this too. I'll show you. I'll give you a little parting gift I'll show you something. My love for science fiction is more for comic books and my folks and stuff like that. When it comes to my viewing stuff, I view more Trek. When it comes to collectibles, though, I collect more Star Wars stuff.
Wow, that's interesting.
I don't know, but you're gonna find a niche category for virtually everything. So don't be afraid to reach out. You're gonna meet friends online. I would say that anybody that watches, your show, if you like wrestling, follow Going in Raw. They're great.
Yes.
If you want to watch two guys I drink when I review Picard.
Yeah.
Maybe a little too much, but no. And people are like, you're an alcoholic. No, I really only drink to relax me on screen. That's all it is.
Yeah.
But if you really like something and you want to get involved, you have a platform with the internet and YouTube and Twitter and Facebook. Man, we're all here. We're all in this together. We're all, human beings. That's why I like Trek. Is a thought of they make they're accepting and it gives hope for mankind, sort of a thing, which is another reason why I really like Trek. And I, like I said, I tell everybody to even the people I've never met. I'm like, I love you guys. You guys are amazing. If there's anything I can do for you, I'm always willing to help. If you watch Steven Larson, I always ask Steve, can I get you anything? Because I'm willing to help out where I can, how I can. I'm not able to do a whole lot, but getting the opportunity, like I call this meeting with you, is an opportunity, and I appreciate it.
Yeah,
And
same here.
yeah,
Yeah, wow, that's great. That's great. Wow. Yeah, I mean, like we wrap down here. Have you heard any new news about Picard or any new stuff on Trek that we should be aware of coming out?
like I
I
said, we
mean,
talked about the book, which is
yes, the
really
book.
interesting.
That's right.
I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, I'm getting. I have to be careful because sometimes the filming stuff for the Mandalorian's coming up too. So
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, me
But
too.
I know the Mandalorian, they're showing nonstop. They're not taking any breaks. I
Yes.
don't know about the release schedule for Discovery
Uh,
season 3.
yeah, yeah, that's right. They announced
I
it, but yeah, yeah, we
yeah.
don't know when.
So otherwise, though, for Discovery, nothing new that I've heard. I know that they're filming another episode of Picard.
Okay.
Um, or another season. I do have a concern because Patrick Stewart and Betty White are two treasures we need to protect no matter
Yes.
what.
Oh
With
yeah.
the whole thing going on, put them in a vault, protect them at all
Oh yeah, that's
costs.
right. Yeah.
So with that being said, I worry about Patrick Stewart and I only wish the best for him. And like I said, my father was 60 or 50,
Yeah.
61 when he passed, so he was pretty young. So Patrick Stewart's outlived him, and I don't want anything to happen to him. But in
Yeah.
case they do, my one concern is that heaven forbid, and I hope it doesn't. I really hope it doesn't. I wish the best for him. But if anything were to happen to Patrick Stewart, I hope they have a way to continue the series because they've already have a great cast, they have a great crew, they have great writers on the show. I want them to be able to continue the Picard franchise
Yeah.
with if they could do it without Patrick Stewart, it would be hard because it is about him. But take the name Picard and maybe that becomes their ship name or their crew name or
Okay.
something like
Oh,
that in Legacy.
that'd be
But
good.
I hope they've filmed a contingency for why he's not there anymore. And I know it's a little morbid to think about that, but we
Oh
have
no, I mean,
some of the
hey,
greatest actors alive are getting up there in age,
yes.
and you worry for them, and we love them. We've appreciated everything that Patrick Stewart's done. I mean, some people didn't like him in X-Men. In my opinion,
Oh really? But
he's my
yeah,
Xavier.
I love him in that.
When it comes to even his off-screen stuff, some of his other acting stuff, it's so good. And so I hope, because I'm trying to think how to word this too. Uh, One person does not a series make. So if you have the main character, something happens to them, whether they get recast or something like that, I don't think that's a make or a break, but sometimes it is. And I hope I really hope it's not. And I think the cast of Picard could rebound from this and make it with Raffi and everybody else. They could make it and continue it on, and they have a
Yes.
strong enough cast. And I want more. Like I think
Yeah,
you
me
and me
too.
both. We're both because we had such a drought because we had the J.J. Abrams, but after Enterprise, there was nothing for a long
Yes.
time. And Trek wasn't on TV for what 21 years or something
Yes.
like that.
Yes.
We were starving for it, and the fans that were really there. You can only, I mean, we can watch reruns all day and love it. Like everybody goes back and rewatches The Office or rewatches what other popular Cheers, and then we got the spinoff of Frasier.
Yes.
But you have these old franchises that have been around, or MASH. We have these old
Yeah.
franchises that have been that were around for 10 years or more, and then they were done. Trek built a universe, which we're very fortunate to have. But again, I'm sorry, man. I could eat it
Yeah, I
up.
know.
Give me
Yeah,
more.
yeah, we can nerd it up, nerd it up. Well, yeah, I definitely want to continue this again. But let's wrap
Definitely.
it up here. But though, do you want to plug anything for my new viewers?
I'm gonna plug you. Plug your stuff. I'm gonna run and grab something. I'm gonna show you something to
Oh,
show how big my nerddom is. So go ahead and plug your stuff. I'll be right back.
okay, okay. All right, guys. So yeah, you guys know my channel, the Lowdown Show, and I also have the Lowdown Wrestling Show, and it's kind of confusing because my Twitter handle is the Lowdown Wrestling Show, but my brother kind of skipped out. He he was the one that did that Twitter. So I kind of left it that way. I was just explaining to them that my Twitter is kind of confusing because it says Lowdown Wrestling Show, but then I have the Lowdown Show. But my
Oh
brother,
yeah.
he used to help me out with the Twitter stuff, so I just took over Twitter. So that's all.
I
Everybody on my channel knows how to get me.
That's very, very good. So my name is, you can reach me pretty much everywhere, and I use my shoot name. I'm very, very, I'm kind of what you see is what you get. So it's
Excellent.
at Tim Spulak, TIMSPULAK. And then for our Twitter, it's at Real for Lights. It's REALFOURLIGHTS. Otherwise, at MF Steve here is my cohort. Oh, by the way, we have a spring tea store. I'm not going to plug that. I don't get anything from it. I like saying, hey, I'm on the internet, but check out the reviews.
Yes.
Like I said, I'm always willing to have a conversation or do this or that. I'm down for pretty much anything. So.
Yes. Yeah, and I'll leave all that down on the description below. And thank you, Tim. Thank you so much.
No problem. I'm
coming
gonna leave you with this.
Let me see.
So, did you know in Disney World they had Star Wars Land, right, called Galaxy's Edge?
Yes. I wanted to go there.
My wife and I had the opportunity to go not the middle of COVID. We went in September. We were supposed to do what's called the Dark Side Marathon. It's a Star Wars 5K, 10K, and half marathon. I'm too big to run a half marathon, but we were going to do the 5 and 10K, and then everything got postponed. So we were able to go in September. During COVID, not the best time to go, but I was able to bring back a few trinkets.
Oh wow!
So this is the Legacy Saber. So this is Anakin's from Episode 3.
I thought either Obi-Wan or Anakin. I knew it was Anakin.
Yep. And then me and my wife got to do the build a lightsaber experience. So her and me both have our own lightsabers. Those are really, really cool. So like I said, when it comes to fandom and nerddom and everything else like that, don't underestimate my powers because I.
There you go. I know not a lot of people like this, but
my man.
Okay.
That's okay.
I like
that's
it.
That's okay. I do. That's a good, and that's the other thing too. When it comes to everybody should be accepting, there's no feud between Trek and Wars. We all enjoy science fiction. One's more, science fiction drama. The other one's more science fiction fantasy. It's all good.
Yeah. Well, there you go, guys. And please like and subscribe to all our YouTube pages and our Twitter. And I'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.
Bye.